Hello there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to do a range of basic macrame knots. And the first one I'm going to start off with showing you is a square knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be working with my macrame board. If you don't have one like this, just find a different way of attaching your cords and what you're working with. There's loads of different ways you can do that with clips and pins and stuff. So to show you this, first I'm going to get a piece of cord out. I'm just using some 2mm satin cord to demonstrate with you. I'm going to attach this to the top of my board in one of the notches. Bring it all the way down and attach it at the bottom as well. So it's now fastened to my board. And this is going to be my holding cord. You can also easily have two holding cords or more. This is just to demonstrate. And then I'm going to get out another piece of cord, same kind. And I'm going to fold it over so I find about the middle. This is how I often tend to start my work anyway. You feed one end underneath. And you have your cord ready like this. Now like I said, this is just to demonstrate you the basic technique, but there's a whole range of things you can do with this. And also different types of cord and different amounts of cord you can use. So it's not limited to this whatsoever, this is just the basic square knot. So what you do is you have your holding cord coming down the middle, and then you have your working cords coming out on the sides, one on each side. And what you do is you grab your working cord from one side first. It doesn't matter which one you start with, because it will be the same as long as you just keep going the same way. And you bring that over, it's coming out underneath your holding cord at the top, bring it over so it forms a loop, and then above your holding cord down here. So that's your first one. You now grab the cord from the other side, grab it, bring it over your holding cord from the other side, so it goes above that, and then you want to grab it and then feed it underneath, basically the place where your two cords cross, where the first holding cord where the first working cord crosses your holding cord. And then you want to pull it up through the loop that you made with your first working cord. Like so. And then I spread it out and try and show you. It kind of looks something like this. So you have your first working cord forming a loop on here, and that's going above your holding cord and then down through the loop on the other side. And this working cord is forming this loop going below the other working cord and your holding cord and coming up through the loop. So it's almost a bit like a pretzel shape, like this. Then all you do is pull them tight, like so, and that now forms the first half of your square knot. So you now need to repeat this step, do exactly the same, except start with the opposite side that you just did. So I started with my left side before, so I now want to grab the cord on my right side. Again, I bring it over my holding cord to make this loop, and some people like to kind of say that this is like a D or a P or something, or depending on what side you have the loop on, to recognize it more. That's completely up to you how you like to remember it. And then grab the working cord from the other side, bring it over the working cord coming from the previous side, and then feed your end, lift up your holding cord and feed your end underneath both cords that you have crossing here, and then pull it up through the loop that you created before. Like so, and you now have that kind of pretzel shape again. And you then just pull that tight. And there you have a full square knot. I'm going to show you again a little bit closer. I tend to always start with my left side for some reason. That's just what comes natural to me. You might find out that you tend to start with your right side. That's completely fine, as long as you then make sure to go on the other side afterwards to finish off your knot. So you bring, in my case, the left side cord over, make the loop and bring it over your holding cord, and then you bring the other one over that and then feed it underneath both and pull it up through the loop and get your pretzel shape, and then pull it tight. Because I then started with my left cord, I'm going to then move on to my right cord to start with now, because you need to finish off the square knot. So you lay that over, form the loop, bring the other one down above that holding cord, and then feed it underneath both and pull up through the loop, and you have your pretzel shape. And then you pull that tight, and now here you have two square knots laying right underneath each other. And then if you're doing something like a Shambhala bracelet, you can just keep going with this, making your square knots, but also you can easily incorporate it into other designs, like so. There you have 3. And if you ever want to count how many you've done, an easy way to recognize this is by, you can kind of tell from the top, on the sides you kind of have these loops coming up. Basically one loop, if you just count on one side, one loop is one full square knot. So I could count, I have 1, 2, 3 loops, so I've done 3 square knots. So if you lose count but you need to know how many you've done, that's one way to then keep track of it. So that's how you do a basic square knot. The next knot I'm going to show you how to do is a spiral knot. It's quite similar to the square knot, but just a little variation. So again, I've attached my holding cord to my board, and I've got my working cord. Again, I folded it in half to find about the middle. Feed the end underneath. And then you have both ends coming out to each their own side. Now what you need to do is start off your spiral knot. And again, it doesn't matter what side you start with. The side you start with really is going to actually depend what way your spiral is going to go. Again, I'm just going to start with the left side. So you start off the exact same way that you did with your square knot. You take one side, create your loop, and put it over your holding cord, like so. And you take the cord from the other side, bring it over the first holding cord, the first working cord, and then bring your end underneath both and pull up through your first loop. So again, like before, you end up with this pretzel shape. And then pull that tight. So you might recognize this is exactly the same thing that we did with the square knot. The only difference is now, instead of then going to the other side and finishing off the square knot like we did before, we simply continue with the same side. Every time we do a knot, we do it from the same side. So I take, again, my left cord, make the loop, bring the other one over and feed it underneath both and pull it up through the loop. And pull it tight. Now repeat, make the loop with the same knot to start with, same cord to start with. Bring the other one through and pull tight. So I'm going to show you again a bit closer. Keep starting with the same side, make the loop, bring the other one over underneath both and up through the loop. And pull it tight. And you just keep going with this to make the spiral knot. And what you'll find is you can already see the spiral starting to form. And usually what happens is eventually, after making a few knots, your cords will kind of twist on you, so you feel like you're going to be pulling them. So what you'll have to do is just bring them around to basically get a flat surface to work on again. But then you just keep going. The exact same thing the whole way, for as long as you want your spiral to be. And obviously I start with my left side and my spiral is going this way. If you want your spiral to go the other way, you just start on the other side and keep going with that way. So you just keep going like this until you reach the length you want your spiral to be. As hopefully you'll be able to tell. You have a nice spiral here now. So that's how you do the spiral knot. The next knot I'm going to show you how to do is the lark's head knot. Now this knot is often used to start out a project or to add in new cord or anything like that really. And it's quite useful one to know. So I've already put up my holding cord. This is just to demonstrate for you. It can be used in many different situations and designs. So what I've done is my working cord, I folded it over. So about the middle I have here, there's a loop. And then what you do is you keep hold of that loop, and then on my holding cord, I come from above and I feed that loop underneath my holding cord so it lays like this. And then what you do is grab hold of that loop and put your fingers through it, and then around your holding cord, then grab the ends of your working cord and pull them all through. And then you have something that looks like this. And then all you do is pull it tight, like so. And this working cord is now attached to your holding cord, and that's what's called a lark's head knot. So I'm just going to show you one more time up close. You have this loop in your working cord, about the middle of the cord usually. You feed that, keep hold of that loop, feed it underneath your holding cord, like so. Grab that loop with your fingers and put your fingers through it, and then you grab the ends of your cord, both ends, so you have it looping around your holding cord, and then you pull them through and you end up with something that looks about like this. And then you just pull it tight, and that's now fastened to your holding cord, and that's a lark's head knot. The next knot is a reverse lark's head knot, and basically it's the same thing that you just done, you're just going from a different angle. And honestly, this is the one I actually prefer to use most of the time, and I'll show you why. So again, I've got my holding cord ready. I grab my working cord, find about the middle, create the loop, and instead of coming from above and feeding the loop underneath, I go from below and feed the loop underneath from below and up, still underneath your holding cord. And you grab that loop like you did before, put your fingers through it, and then grab the ends of your cord and pull them all the way through. And then you end up with this. It basically looks the same as before, except you have the loop running underneath these two cords, whereas before it was above. And you pull it tight, like so. And that's how it looks. So I'll show you one more time up close. You grab your working cord, make your loop, feed it underneath your holding cord from beneath, push it through, and then grab hold of the actual loop, put your fingers through, and then pull your ends all the way through, and then tighten it. And the reason that I prefer this knot, to use the reverse larkshead knot over the normal larkshead knot most of the time, is because, like I said from before, just flip it around and show you. This is what the reverse larkshead knot would be. You have the loop coming above. It's quite visible. It's just personal preference. I just prefer this because I think it looks a lot more, it blends in a lot better in my opinion. But that all depends on the project. But that's how to do the reverse larkshead knot. The next knot that I'm going to show you is called a half hitch. Now for this you need 2 cords that are already attached to whatever you're working on. I'm just going to show you from this. So I have 2 cords coming out. One is going to be a holding cord and one is going to be a working cord. So what you do is you grab hold of one with one hand, and then you take the other one, so the one you're holding in your hand is your holding cord, and the other one is going to be your working cord. That's the one you're going to use to form the knots around this one. So what I usually do is I put it around my finger onto the other side of the holding cord and then pull the end through the loop. So I lay it down, the holding cord is coming straight down, and you have the working cord looping around, kind of forming a 6 around your holding cord. First going above it, then below it, and then out through the loop. And then you pull that tight, and that's a half hitch. And then you can switch over, you can do it on the other side. So that now becomes your holding cord. This is your working cord. Put it around your finger and pull it through the loop. And tighten it. So this you can really, you just need 2 cords to do a half hitch. And you can do it in any way. So this is alternating. This in itself can be a quite nice effect. You keep going like this. You could also use 2 different colours. Like so. So I'm just going to show you again up close. One is going to be a holding cord and the other one your working cord. You loop it around your finger and then pull it back through the loop. So you get your 6 forming around your holding cord. And then all you do is tighten it. And this is probably one of the most, if not the most used knot in macrame, and especially micro macrame. This is a very used knot because you can pretty much do anything with this. So that's how you do that one. The next knot that I'm going to show you is called the double half hitch. So it's basically like we just did, but you make 2 every time you make a knot instead of just 1. And again, the same principle. You need 2 cords. One is your holding cord, one is your working cord. And you do exactly the same thing. Hold your holding cord with one hand. The other one you loop around your finger and pull it through the loop. So again you end up with your 6. And just pull it tight. And then to make the double half hitch, you just make another one. I'm going to show you again a bit up close. So I'm going to switch them around this time, it doesn't matter, it's just for demonstration. One is your holding cord, the other one is your working cord. You grab hold of your holding cord, take your working cord around your finger and pull it through the loop. And tighten it. And one more time, take your double half hitch, around your finger through the loop, so you get your 6, this is a reverse 6, and just tighten it. So you're making 2 half hitches to make a double half hitch, which then counts kind of as 1 knot. And this is, like I said before, very common knot. and very much used in especially macrame. And the thing with this, it's going to be a bit hard for me to show you here, but what happens with this is you can pretty much do anything. And a little tip is when you're doing half hitches, you can get your row of knots, because that's basically what you do a lot of the times, you create rows of knots. You can get that row to go in pretty much any direction you want it to go. The way you determine that is what direction you hold your holding cord in. So if you pull it up, your row will start to go up. If you pull it down, it'll start to go down. So it's very handy like that. You can basically get it to do whatever you want it to do. And also, if you keep going, making these half hitches, doing it the same way, it's kind of similar to before with the spiral knot. But actually a spiral starts to form here. Just a little bit of a different type of spiral, but still a spiral. I'll grab it back around. If you want to just keep going doing this, you make a different type of spiral. As you can see, your knots are starting to spiral around. So that's just another effect you can get from it. Now the last knot that I'm going to show you how to do is a bit of a variation between some of the ones we've already done. And it's called the reverse double half hitch. Again, you have your two cords. One is going to be holding cord and one is your working cord. So you keep hold of one of them, doesn't matter which one, that all depends on the design you're going for. You do the same thing, you take your working cord around your finger and pull it through the loop, like so. But then now, instead of continuing that same way, what you need to do is reverse it. Because you remember from before, when we just kept doing it the same way, you got a spiral. What you actually want this to do is you want it to end up being flat. So to do that, you need to do the opposite. So this time, we went like this. So if we lay it out, we basically go over the holding cord and then back underneath. That's how we started. So now we need to do the opposite. Now we need to take the working cord underneath the holding cord and then pull it back around and through the loop. So you still get your 6, but it wraps around in the opposite way. And then you pull that tight and you get what looks like this. So I'm going to show you a few more times to show you the effect you get. So basically you have your holding cord like the whole time. In this case you're not switching around between holding cord and working cord. You put your working cord above it, over it, and then back around itself and pull it through the loop. So you get your 6. And because you started going over that one, now you need to take your working cord underneath your holding cord and then pull the end back through the loop. So that's why it's called a reverse double half hitch. And what you kind of end up with, if I can try and show you, around, over and around and pull through, then under and around and pull through. If you can see this knot, this is very similar. It's basically the same when we did the larkshead knot. So you can also call it kind of a sideways larkshead knot. It just depends how you like to look at it really. So you pull it tight, like so, over, around, through the loop, pull it tight, under, around and through the loop, and pull it tight, over, around, through the loop, and under, around and through the loop. And then you end up with something that looks like this. So basically, like I said, a row of knots, and like I said, they're all flat, they're not spiraling like they did before, because you're doing them reverse. It basically works a bit like you're doing the square knot and the spiral knot. It's the same principle. So that's how you do a range of basic macrame knots, and from these knots you'll pretty much be able to do anything. And there's loads of different variations, and it all depends on your designs that you want to do as well. So I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful, and thank you very much for watching.